time. You're fine.
I forgot my stuff.
You know, I can bring you that.
That's good.
Yeah. So remember, if you need anything during class, I will bring some at the end of class when we lie down to relax. But if you want anything yourself, like blankets, grab one from the shelf if you need to, or wave at me and I can get it for you. So let's sit comfortably. So let yourself, if you're in your chair, get your feet about hip distance apart and parallel. And you can either go all the way back in your chair to be supported, or you can sit kind of forward so that you're supporting yourself with your back, right? That just depends on what feels good to you. And if you're on the floor, stretch your legs out if that's better for your hips, or cross your legs if you're comfortable to do that, but don't force that ever. And sit up on blankets if you need to. And then just close your eyes. Let yourself just accept your breaths now, coming in and going out through your nose. So being mindful as you feel the breath coming in and going out, just watching your breath. And if you can let your breath start to come into your belly, so that when you breathe in, you feel your belly expand a little bit as you inhale. And if you're comfortable to come deeper into your breath, don't force it, but if you can, start with the breath in the belly, inhaling into the belly, and then up into your ribs, and then maybe up into your chest a little bit. So there's those three parts of the breath, and then when you exhale, imagine the breath coming out of the chest first, and then the ribs, and then the belly. Face relax now. Let yourself feel really soft all through your face. And on your next exhale, release your arms on out beside you. So if you're on the floor, your fingertips can lightly touch the floor there beside you. And we'll inhale both arms all the way out and up overhead. And on our exhale, let our hands come right down through the midline to be in front of our chests. And then we're going to reverse our arms. So keep your hands together there. Inhale them right up through the midline. And on the exhale, open the arms on back out and down. And now inhale your hands a little off the floor, or your arms a little away from you, and start to circle your hands around. So just keep going in the same direction, whatever you started with. Let your hands just circle. Feel your wrists. Feel your fingers too if you can. And then stop and reverse direction with those circles. So you really feel that ease of moving through your wrists. And then come on back and make fists with your hands here. Let your thumbs be on top and kind of squeeze a little bit into that fist. And then open your hands really wide, spread your fingers out. And now put your thumb in first and wrap your fingers over the top of your thumb. But don't squeeze in hard on this one. Let it be really loose and easy. And then spread out those fingers again. Really spread out all the way like you're trying to reach your fingers, pinky fingers and thumbs away from each other. And then let your arms again release on down beside you. Take a nice inhale. And on the exhale, let's twist to our right. Let yourself come on around to your right. Remember, I'm not going to mirror you. I'm going to come the opposite way just because that's what happens on the video here. So it reverses it. So let yourself lengthen up. Remember, if you go to the wrong side or you do the wrong side, it doesn't matter. We do everything to both sides. So inhaling here in your twist to wake up your spine. And as you exhale, come on around into the other direction, letting yourself release all the way to the other side. So let your arms be comfortable where you feel pretty good in your shoulders. Feel that sense of your sitting bones, those two bones you're sitting on there that you can feel reaching downward. One more inhale. And let your exhale draw you on back around into center again. So let's stretch our legs out. Remember, if you're cross-legged on the floor, which leg you had in front. Stretch your legs out, move through your feet now. So that circling like you did with your hands, let your feet do the same thing. You can go the same direction if you'd rather, doesn't matter. And then reverse the circles of the feet so you go the other way. And then flex your feet, draw your toes back so you feel the undersides of the legs more. And then point your feet where you feel like the tops. You really feel your quads engaging, you feel the tops of the legs more. And then flex the feet again. And then let the feet point again. Good. And if you were cross-legged on the floor and you're bringing yourself back, switch the cross of your legs. So you have your other leg in front. So you just kind of even your hips out that way. And then we'll bring our arms again on down beside us. And from here, let's inhale our right arm all the way out, up overhead. See if you can turn your palm towards the midline of your body there. And then just come over into a side stretch. So if you're on the floor, your left hand can give you a little support there. If you're in your chair, you can hold the chair. You can hang the arm if you want. You can put the hand in your lap if you want to, right? That bottom arm. So be where you're comfortable, breathing into that side you're stretching. And then we'll come on back up. We're going to lower that arm down. And now let's make one big circle with that right arm. Bring the arm forward and up overhead. And then reach it as far back behind you as you can there. And let it come on back down beside you. And let's inhale the left arm all the way out and up. Again, for this side stretch, you can use your hand on the floor. You can let yourself breathe now into the left side of the body so you feel the ribs actually expand when you breathe in. It's like the rib cage really expands outward, and it's really kind of to the front and the side and the back that it expands. And then we'll come on back up, and we're going to lower that arm on down. We're going to make that big circle, remember, reaching the arm forward and up. And then back behind us as we reach on back. Good. Releasing the arms on down, again beside us. Let's inhale again, both arms all the way out and up. Keep the hands together as you exhale them right down through the midline to be in front of your chest. And then we'll reverse again. Inhale the hands right up through the midline. And on the exhale, open the arms on back out and down. Good. And now from here, just let your arms be comfortable. Bring your chin down towards your chest. So you're releasing your head forward a little bit there. And then roll your left ear towards your left shoulder. Let yourself just release the right side of your neck there a little bit. And then come back into center with your chin. And we'll just roll the right ear towards the right shoulder a little bit. And then we'll come on back into center again, chin down towards the chest, and then just rise your head on back up. And from here, bring your hands, if you're on the floor, you might just want to put your fingertips on the floor, or you might want to go all the way back onto your palms. Think about your chest drawing forward a little bit, your shoulders drawing back as you open through the front of the body. So on the chair, it's really pretty nice because the chair hits you right at the base of your shoulder blades, so that you can feel that lift right at the base of your shoulder blades. And if you're on the floor, it's that same thing. It's like somebody has a string attached to your sternum and they're drawing it forward and up on a bit of a diagonal line so that you can really open across your chest there. And then we'll rise to sit all the way up again. And again, bring your chin down a little bit towards your chest. Let your head release forward. Turn it a little bit side to side from there, where it's forward, and then just chin going one way and then the other. And then come on back into center. Rise your head on back up. Kind of shake everything out a little bit. If you're on the floor, stretch your legs out if you want. We're going to come around towards our hands and knees. And if you know you don't want to be on your knees, don't be. Use your chair so that you can have yourself up higher. You're not down on the floor on your knees. Or if you're on the floor and it feels fine to be on your hands and knees, use a blanket if it's not quite so good on your knees, right? And then the hands are the other issue. When you're down like this, if it does not feel good to have your hands spread wide with your palms flat down towards the floor, don't do it. Come on to fists if you'd rather, so you get that wrist crease out of your hands. Or if you need to, you can even come totally out of your hands. Go down onto your forearms. Because all we're going to do is move through our cat-cows, move through our spines. So at first, just look down between your hands there. Take a nice inhale. And as you exhale, draw your navel towards your spine, round up into your back. It's kind of like a cat, a kitten. If you see a kitten like kind of get angry or scared, rounding up into the back there. And then when you inhale, send your tailbone back and up, coming into cow pose. So your belly kind of sinks down, your ribs, your chest. Now you can stay looking down, or you can look forward in cow pose if you want. You kind of see why it's called cow, right? So as you start to just let yourself ease your way between these two poses, imagine that it's your tailbone that starts everything. Every time. So the tailbone's the first thing that moves, that either draws up under you when you engage into the belly drawing towards the spine and you round up into cat, or it's the first thing that you send back and up as your belly sinks a little and your heart melts down and you come into cow. So take your time, and you don't have to be as extreme in these poses, right? You can just let yourself find the mobility you can in your spine. It doesn't have to be that big. Just trying to let yourself imagine you're warming up those muscles all along your spine that help your spine stay in alignment. Also picturing that your spine, that your back is healthy, right? Finish off the one you're on. And then we'll come back to just a more neutral spine again. And we're going to come into a lunge here, stepping our left foot forward and our right foot back. Now you can have blocks under your hand instead of a chair. You can be up on blocks any height. They can be high, they can be middle, they can be low. You can step back into a shorter or a longer stance in your lunge, so don't push it. Let yourself just enjoy as you bend that left knee. Make sure it's not going out beyond your ankle. And then you're going to open up the back of your right leg here. So just enjoy feeling your calf of that back leg. Feel the belly gently engaging a little bit, like you're zipping up from your pubic bone to your belly button. Good. And now we're going to switch legs. So however you want to do that, bringing yourself to the other leg back. And you do in a lunge want to feel like you're kind of on really narrow railroad tracks. You don't want to feel like you're on a tightrope. So you don't want your feet lined up in a line. Take your time. Enjoy opening up the back of that leg here now. Let your shoulders come down away from your ears and feel the length of your spine as well. Good. And we're going to switch legs again. So again, how you have your hands for lunge is, again, important. I mean, you don't want to feel pressure into your wrist. You don't want to feel discomfort. You can hold the edge of your chair. You can be up on fists on your blocks if you want. So some of you I know, when you're here now, will want to put your left hand or your forearm up onto your left thigh so that you have only your right hand down. But that's up to you. Don't need to do that. Keep both hands down if you need. We're going to switch legs again. So again, once you get situated, if it feels good to add a little more into your legs and hips, that front hand can come up to that front thigh. It's the same one there that's forward. And you can just let yourself get a little deeper into your hips, into your legs there. Good. We'll bring our hands down so we can step forward now. We're going to get our feet hips distance apart and parallel. Now be really mindful. This is a standing forward bend. You do not want to put pressure into your back, especially if you have any issues, right? So you can use support underneath your hands or underneath your forearms, like using your chair or a block up in your chair to stay up higher. You can also bend your knees and put your elbows above your knees, which keeps your back long, right? Or, some of you are fine to release your hands down and let your head hang and come forward over your legs. Not everybody is built as such that feels good, right? So you find where you can be without stress here. If you are able to let your head hang, knees can be bent in this pose. Do think about your sitting bones being kind of over your heels, so you're not shifting your weight way back behind you, right? Your weight is more forward over your legs. Good. One more breath here. Feel the breath coming into your rib cage. Imagine your ribs are expanding in all directions when you breathe in. Really letting your face soften. Think about relaxing your jaw. Good. Now to get ready to rise up, let your hands come onto your hips, bend your knees, and then rise on up to standing. And release your arms out beside you. Float your arms a little bit away from you. And rotate your palms forward. Now when you do that, it automatically opens your chest, right? So rather than feeling your shoulders rolling forward, now they're nice and wide and open. And you can feel this sense, almost like you're standing between two panes of glass. So you feel very balanced between the front and the back of your body. And think about if you were symmetrical between the right and the left side of your body. So you feel very balanced that way as well. Mountain pose, we're going to bend our elbows and let our hands come right together in front of our chests. So how high or low your hands are, it doesn't matter. It's whatever feels really good for you, what feels natural. And I like to close my eyes in mountain pose, but if you feel dizzy, keep your eyes open and imagine you're looking way out beyond the wall, like you're looking out towards the horizon if you were outside. Mountain pose, the basis of all other poses in yoga. It's kind of like the simplest, at the same time, the hardest. Now, all it is alignment in your body. So you're grounded through your feet. As you move up through your legs, your thighs are just gently engaging upward a little bit. You don't want to lock your knees, though. And then your tailbone is reaching down towards between your heels. So you're not tucking your tailbone forward, which really brings a totally different feeling into the whole body there, right? And you're kind of stacked up, hips over your ankles, shoulders over your hips. Let's unfold our arms right back down beside us and inhale both arms all the way out and up. And as you exhale, bend your knees as you come forward, back to that standing forward bend. So that'll take it out of your back, right? Let your next inhale help you find a nice flat back. You can have your hands on your legs. You can have your hands on your chair. You can have your hands on the blocks. Find a flat back for yourself there. And we're going to step our right foot back and come into lunge. So draw your shoulders down, away from your ears. Let yourself imagine length in the whole back of your body here. Good. We're going to come on into a downward facing dog pose. So whether your hands are on the chair or on the blocks or on the floor, you're trying to lengthen through your spine here in your dog. Elbows are hugging towards each other. Now, you may not be able to get your ears between your upper arms, right? But you can still lengthen your spine out here, even if your shoulders won't let you do that. And the higher you are, or the lower you are, really depending on your shoulders, it might feel better or it might feel worse to be higher or lower. So you have to adjust to what you can do. Take your time. One more breath. And then we're going to come out towards a plank, a push-up pose. Now, you don't have to go all the way into one. If you feel pretty strong enough to do that, and your hands will do it, you can find that plank, or you can go onto your forearms. So if you don't want to be on your hands like this, you can go to your forearms and do a forearm plank, or put your knees down on the floor and do a half. And then we're going to come back into downward facing dog pose. So again, adjust as you need your feet. Imagine you have a beach ball between your elbows and you're holding it there. And let yourself reach back through your tailbone, through your sitting bones. Good. We are going to bring our right foot back forward to lunge. So however you need to get there. We're all different, so if you were on the floor and you need to put a knee down or knees down to get there, do. And then we'll step back into the standing forward bend. Feet hips distance apart and parallel. And you can check out your feet. Just make sure you're not turning one foot out or one foot in. You have the feet pretty equal there on the floor. And then just go to your breath. See if you can let yourself release here. So the forward motion of the body coming forward like this and staying just naturally is going to open up the backs of your legs. Whether your knees are bent, whether your hands are on blocks or forearms are on a chair or elbows are above your knees or your arms are hanging, you're still opening up the backs of your legs. And see if you can watch your breaths and imagine your inhales and exhales being equally important. So oftentimes, it's really kind of, you don't think about your breath, you don't think about the length of your inhales and your exhales, and you might actually, take a lot longer on one than the other. So see if you can kind of even out the length of your inhales and exhales. You can count when you breathe in. Think of reaching that same count when you breathe out. One more nice deep breath. And then to rise up, bend your knees, press into your feet, and rise on up to standing. And inhale your arms all the way out and up overhead. And let your exhale bring your hands down together in front of your heart. There's your mountain pose again. Let's inhale our hands right back up through the midline. On the exhale, open your arms like wings as you bend your knees and come forward into your standing forward bend. On your next inhale, find that flat back again. Lengthen out through your spine. Remember, knees can be bent, that's fine. And this time we'll step our left foot back and come into our lunge. We're coming into our second sun salutation now. So inhale and exhale into your downward facing dog pose again. So down dog, if your hands are on the floor, you're like an upside down V, right? So your heels are hover off the mat, probably you're reaching back through your tailbone, your sit bones. If your hands are on the blocks, your heels might be on the floor, and you can be any height on the blocks, right? If your shoulders feel better here, you can come onto the blocks any height. Just be careful, they can be tippy. And if your hands are up on the chair, obviously your body's up higher, and that might make it a little more doable, right? Next inhale, we're going to come on out towards plank. Again, your planks are up to you. Forearm plank, knees down into a half plank. If you like push-ups, go for it. You can bend your elbows, let yourself come into a little push-up. You can bring the elbows in towards your ribs as a yoga-style push-up. And then we're going to make our way back again into downward facing dog pose. So you can adjust your feet so that you feel fine when you get into that down dog again. Good, and we'll step our left foot forward this time to come into lunge. Draw your shoulders down. Actually, see if you can imagine you're trying to make your mat longer a little bit with your feet. So you're pressing your feet away from each other and feel how your belly and your hips and your low back react to that. We're going to step forward from here into standing forward bend. Feet and hips distance apart and parallel, and again, be mindful of your own back. You might be feeling a little better now. You might want to go a little lower, you might not. Some of you I know love to hold your elbows. You can let your body release, hold the elbows if that feels good. And then we'll bring our hands up to our hips. We're going to rise straight up to standing and inhale our arms all the way out and up. And on our exhale, let our hands come down in front of our hearts. Take a breath here in your mountain pose. Again, feel stacked up if you can. Hips over ankles, shoulders over hips. We're going to let our arms come on down beside us and inhale both arms out and up. And as we exhale, arms like wings as we come again, forward into standing forward bend. Let your next inhale help you find that flat back. And this time we're going to walk into down dog. So you put your hands the height you'd like them to be and step your way back into downward facing dog pose. Good. Now this time when we come out to plank, you can even stay there if you want again, like we did before. You can do push-up if you'd rather. Or you can come into a back bend of sorts, right? Your belly can come forward a little bit as your hips sink down, or not necessary to do a back bend at all, right? Stay in your plank if you'd rather. If you're on the floor, you can do a cobra or sphinx. And then we'll come on back again into down dog. So remember, those back bends are optional. Walk a little bit in your dog. Bend one knee at a time. Really feel that nice release in the back of one leg and then the other. And then come on back to your dog, and on your next inhale, come on out again towards that plank. Again, it is totally optional to do a back bend. You don't have to. If you're on the floor, you can come down and then come onto your forearms to do a sphinx. You can come through for a little cobra or an up dog. And then we'll make our way back again into downward facing dog pose. Nice. And then from here, we're going to bring our right foot forward to find lunge. However you need to get there. You know that. Put a knee down if you need or knees. And then come on back into standing forward bend. Feet hips distance apart and parallel. Again, be mindful of your own back. If you're able to let your head hang, if that doesn't put too much stress in your back, let your head feel really heavy. And then again, watching your breaths. Letting your face be soft, relaxing all around your eyes and your mouth. One more breath. And then as we bend our knees, we'll bring our hands to our hips. We're going to come on up to standing and inhale our arms all the way out and up. And on our exhale, let our hands come right down together in front of our hearts. So if you need to kind of look at your feet, we're going to find mountain pose. Kind of start with your feet. Get your feet, remember you want your hip pointer bones about lined up with the center of your feet. And then just as you bring your gaze forward, get that feeling of being very equal between your feet, thighs gently lifting upward a little bit, hips coming over your ankles, shoulders over your hips, and maybe even envision your ears being over your shoulders. So finding that place for your head where it's very easy to be, so your chin doesn't reach forward, doesn't tuck back. There's that length upward through the top of your head. And let's unfold our arms right on down beside us and shake out a little bit. Move around if you need to. Walk around if you need to. So, sun salutations. Warm up everything in the body. Yeah? You should feel a little more like energy flowing already through the body. So, let's come into stepping towards the front of our mats. And if you have your chair there, you might want to use it, okay? We're going to step our right foot back and come into Warrior One, which is called the front-facing warrior, all right? Because your shoulders are around square to the front of your mat. The back foot is turned out maybe 20 or 30 degrees, right? And how far back you step. You can be, 2 feet apart. You can be 3 feet apart with your feet. You can be really long if you want. But think about bringing your shoulders over your hips. Right? And if you need to use the chair, you can get your foot more under it so that if you need the chair, you can put your hand back onto it. And then bring your hands to your heart if you can. And just enjoy it. From here, clasp your hands together and start to press out into the heels of your hands. So you can really feel your fingers here now. Start to float the arms up higher and higher. Now, This is up to you. If you need to use the chair, put one hand down on the chair, do. And you don't have to go all the way overhead. You can if you want. You can bring your hands directly over your head, or you can stay forward with your hands, right? Your core body is working right now, or you'd be falling over. So your belly, your hips, your low back are engaged right here in your warrior one. Bring the hands on back forward of your chest. And now let the hands come apart all the way like a T position out beside you. And then turn your palms up and let the arms float up into a wide V. And then from there, some of you may want to look up a little bit, feeling that lift. Same thing we talked about at the beginning, right at the base of your shoulder blades. So you're not sinking into your low back. You're very lifted in the belly here. Lengthen through the right buttock muscle down towards your heel. So just imagine there's this great big circle around you. And your fingertips are touching the circle of your feet. It's just a big circle. It makes you feel like you're just totally open through the whole body here. One more breath. And then we'll lower our arms on down. And we're going to turn sideways to go to the right long edge of your mat here. Let your feet get wider than your shoulders. And then come on down. You can grab blocks, if you like, for a wide-legged forward bend. So that's pretty self-explanatory. Your feet are at least a little wider than your shoulders, right? And you can take your time here. You can bend a knee at a time. Let yourself just easily stretch out a little more in your inner thighs. Good. And then come on back to center and bend both knees equally if you can. If you're able to bring your elbows above your knees, do, so that you're actually supporting your back by your knees being bent, your elbows being above the knees to give you that kind of support. You're going to squat. You're lengthened out through your spine. Good. And then go ahead, bring your hands back down to the surface you like and walk them over to the right. You might want to just walk your blocks a little bit over to the right, towards your right foot. You don't have to go all the way to the foot. You can go as far as you want. And then come on back through center and go to the left. So again, there's no right or wrong how far you go. You go where you can. And then we'll come on back into center again. And now, just let yourself get comfortable. So that might mean you want to take your blocks and stack them up and support yourself on your forearms so that you can keep a long back, but you can be in the pose without stress in your upper body. So finding where you can be. I mean, some of you are fine to bring your hands to the floor, I know, because that feels good to you. But you want to be really mindful of how your back feels. And let yourself enjoy here. Feeling the release as you watch your breaths coming in and going out. The release in the upper part of the body. Good. One more breath. Nice, full, deep breath. See if you can watch your breath all the way in and all the way out. And then to rise up, you might want to help yourself by bringing your feet a little different distance together. Use your hands on your thighs. Rise up. If you're at all dizzy, you might want to keep your feet wider a little bit before you walk in. Just be mindful so you don't feel like you're going to fall over. And then we're going to bring ourselves to the other side. So this time as you step to the front edge of your mat, you're going to step your left foot back. Now you might be more stable if you feel like rather than stepping your left foot directly behind your right one, you bring it a little more to the left so that you're on narrow railroad tracks again, right? So if it feels good to do that for your balance sake and for your hips, then you can do that. So when you're in a Warrior One pretty short stance, your hips are pretty square, right? And your shoulders are square to the front of the mat. Now this time, let's just inhale our arms forward, right forward of our shoulders. The palms are facing each other. And see if you can imagine, rather than, for a second, reach forward, round into your upper back. And then see if you can imagine plugging your arm bones back into your shoulder socket. So your chest almost comes a little forward. And then when you rise your hands up, you can separate them. If you feel very comfortable to bring your hands together and clasp them and send your pointer finger up, you can do that. Hugging your elbows in towards your face. That's just not for everybody's shoulders, right? If you want to try it, you can try that. You can again look up a little bit if that feels good. It doesn't mean your arms have to be by your ears. Arms can be forward. So see again if you can imagine. This time imagine inhaling up the front of your body and exhaling down the back of your body. That same circle, but this time it's like a circle of breath around you. As you inhale up the front, over the top, and then exhale down the back. Nice. We're going to release our arms on down beside us here now, and we're going to turn sideways again to get our feet parallel as we can be, wider than the shoulders. Grab your blocks if you need them, and then come on forward. Now this time, once you get your hands down, go ahead and let yourself bend both your knees for a second. And if you feel comfortable to come into straighter legs, do. But keep your hands out in front of you so your back is flat. So I like to use the blocks because we're going to add a little twist. But you can, if you want, have your hands on the floor. And then let yourself bring your right hand on up to your right hip. And roll your right shoulder up a little bit. So your palm goes flat down onto your sacrum. So the twist is in the middle of the back. Your hips aren't going cockeyed, they're staying level. It's like if you put a cup of tea right back here where your hand is, it would not spill because you're flat. And then bring that right hand on back down, and we're going to go the other side. So the left hand comes up. Try to stay equal in your legs. That twist is in the middle of your back. So you're very level there in the hips. Good, beautiful. One more breath. And then come on back down again. And then take your time if you need to wiggle around a little bit, right? So we are going to stay in the pose again to watch our breath. So if it feels better to you to stack your blocks up, to use them to support you, or maybe you're fine to walk your hands back towards between your feet. Knees can be bent in this pose or straighter. Doesn't matter, whatever feels best to you. And then just watch your breath, but this time, see if you can bring your awareness to little spaces between your breaths. So when you breathe in, there's a little spot where you just have a little, very little brief pause or space before you breathe out. And the same thing at the end of your exhales, you'll feel just a split second before you breathe in again. So if you can, bring your awareness to those little spaces between your breaths. It's not like you're holding your breath. It's almost like, imagine you're just having that split second to totally release between your breaths. One more breath. Now, before you rise up, if you need to adjust how far apart your feet are, again, you can use your hands to help you as you bring your hands to your thighs. And again, if you're busy, be mindful. When you're ready to walk around, bring your feet together, move around a little bit. Good. And this time, you can keep your chair turned this way. We're going to come into Warrior Two. So we're going to step our right foot back. And for most people, the stance in Warrior Two is a little more comfortable, a little longer than their Warrior One. But not everybody. So your back foot is about parallel to the back edge of your mat. And then you have your heels about in a line, and your left foot is about parallel to the long edge of your mat. So you're letting yourself bend that left knee, look down at your left knee, and just make sure that you're not bending that knee out beyond your toes, right? You don't want to put that kind of pressure in your knee. And then just start to release your arms straight out from your shoulders, bringing yourself, if you need to, you can keep your hand on your chair for balance, but bringing yourself to look out over the top of that left hand. Warrior two. Feel like you're reaching equally out through both sets of fingertips. Very strong pose, one of my favorites. Warrior two. Let yourself enjoy. Feel your feet equal in the floor. Good. And now, bring your right hand down to your right leg. Turn your left palm up. And reach your left hand up towards the ceiling, coming into reverse warrior. So you're breathing now into that left side of your body. One more breath. And then when you exhale, come into side angle. Your left hand or your forearm can go to your thigh or to your chair, right? And then you can decide if you want to add your right arm up into line with the right side of your body, or if your shoulder says no, keep your right hand down on your hip. You don't have to add that arm up. It's only if your shoulder lets you. So your body is extended out over that front leg. Good. We're going to come on back to warrior two. So press the feet away from each other. That gets you right back into your core strength there. Good. And then bring your hands down. And now we're going to find a lunge. So coming down with your hands, maybe to the chair, maybe to the blocks, maybe to the floor. Coming back to that lunge that we did so many of in sun salutations. So now your right heel is directly behind your foot. We're going to add a twist, bringing our left hand to our left hip, rolling that left shoulder up, and you can stay right there. Hand on your low back. It's that same thing. You're trying to be pretty level, right back here where your hand is. Some of you like to stretch your arm up, I know. So if that feels good to open your shoulder that way, do. If it feels better to keep your hand down, do. And then we'll come on back with our hand down to find lunge. We're going to step forward, get your feet right underneath you, however you need to do that. And then bend your knees, rise on up to standing. We're going to inhale the arms all the way out and up. And on our exhale, let our hands come right down together in front of our hearts. So feel your mountain pose here for a couple of breaths. And sometimes for me, especially as we really get going in class like this, I like to sway. Right? I like to let my body, if it wants to sway a little bit, side to side or front to back, just to find center. Just feels really good to just allow your body to find its way into that alignment. Feel, you can maybe feel your heart beating. Watch your breath. And then let your arms come on down beside you. And we're going to go the other side from here. So stepping the left foot back this time. Again, you can use your chair to give you a little balance support here. That left foot gets parallel to the back edge of your mat. The right foot turns parallel to the long edge of your mat. When you bend that knee, you look at it, make sure you're not going way, way out to your toes, right? And then start to float your arms on up and out, straight out from your shoulders. You can keep your hand on your chair. If you feel like you're not balancing too well, use support. And then maybe you can float it up a little bit once you get established. Looking out over the top of that right hand. Imagine your arms are growing out of your back. You're not tensing up the top of your shoulders. Feet equal in the floor. Let's put our left hand down on our left leg, turn our right palm up, and inhale and reach up towards the sky. Now as high as you can. Imagine you're almost reaching the ceiling tiles. One more breath here. And then as you exhale, come into that side angle. So you're staying with that right knee bent. The back leg is straight. You can lean your torso out without adding that left arm up. If you want to add the left arm up, you can. If your shoulder is telling you that hurts, it doesn't feel good, don't do it. So thinking about elongating through both sides of the body. And we're not turning into a curve in our back. We're keeping our spine lengthened. Good. We're going to come on back into warrior two. Press those feet away from each other. Good. We're going to bring our hands down. We're going to find our way to lunge. So you decide as you start to bring your hands down to release that left heel directly behind your foot now. And you might have to adjust the length of your stance. Bringing the right hand now to the right hip and rolling that shoulder up. So your hand can stay right down there on your low back. You can stretch the arm up if you want to. It depends on your shoulder. Envision right now that your head is a part of your spine, so you're not dropping your head down, but you're also not lifting it up, right? It feels like it's just part of your spine, just growing right up out of your neck as part of your spine. And then we'll bring our hand on back down. And we're going to step forward, get our feet right underneath us. Go ahead and bend your knees, press into your feet equally, and rise on up. And inhale your arms all the way out and up. And on your exhale, coming on into that mountain pose again. So be mindful, take your time. Let yourself release there into mountain pose. So that it feels, it's almost like you're coming home to mountain, really. Every time you come back, it might feel a little bit different. Imagine for a second that you're being supported by the air around you so that it feels very easy to be in your mountain pose. And then we'll go ahead and let our arms come on down, shake out a little bit, move around a bit. Now if you have a chair, let your chair just be turned so you can have the back of it. The rest of you who don't have a chair are going to walk to a wall, just somewhere where you can put your hand on a wall for support. So it doesn't matter where that is. I mean, anybody can walk over here and be like over here on this wall if you feel like it. Yeah. All we're going to do is a little tree pose, all right? So letting yourself, if you can, stand on your left foot. So everybody at the wall, put your left hand on the wall, okay? And left hand on your chair, of course, too. And then standing on your left foot, bring your right foot in. Tree pose now can be done with your right foot still on the floor, but your right heel into the inside of your ankle. Or you can bring the foot up into the inside of your calf, right? You just don't want to put your foot onto the inside of your knee. If you want to go higher, you can reach down and get hold of your ankle, pull your foot up into your inner thigh. Well, not everybody's hip even wants to think about doing that. So you be where you can. And then just imagine that you're going to let yourself bring your hands to your heart or overhead. And you can always keep your left hand on support. Bring just the right arm up overhead. That might give you just a little bit of lift, so where you can think about letting go with your left hand, maybe balance for a brief period, a second or two there. Use support when you need it. And then when you're ready, let yourself come on down. Take care of that leg you were standing on. Circle through your ankle a little bit, move through your foot. We're going to turn around. So your right hand is giving you support. You're standing on your right leg. Now the whole thing is when you're standing on your right leg, you don't want to drop into your hip, right? There's this lift in the front of the hip here. So that even if you just put your heel on the inside of the ankle, that's a lot of work in that leg you're standing on. You don't have to bring the foot up off the floor to really be feeling the work in the leg that you're standing on, right? So take your time. You can keep your again, toes on the floor. You can bring your arms up overhead. You can think about bringing your foot up to the inside of your calf or not. And of course, if you want to keep your hand on support the whole time and experiment, do that. Good. And then when you're ready, let yourself come down. And now again, take care of that foot you're standing on a little bit. And we're going to come on back to our mats, and we're going to go down to the floor. So those of you with a chair, just kind of move it off to the side. We're going to go down onto our bellies on the ground. So take your time. When you come down, let yourself kind of rest for a little bit with your forehead on your hands, and then bend your knees once you get there and let your feet circle around. You can do your own little foot dance up there. Nobody's looking. You can do anything you want with your feet. Some of you I know like the windshield wiper blades, letting your lower legs go from one side to the other. So if that feels good for your back, it's just not for everybody's knees. Just find a release for yourself, right? Good. And then come back to long legs. And let's see about coming up into Sphinx pose, which is bringing our elbows to pretty much under our shoulders, turning our palms down towards the ground, spreading our fingers wide here. Now, if this hurts your back, you can adjust. You can go farther forward like this with your arms and be down lower with your body, or you can bring your elbows down towards your waist more. And that's still a back bend. And you'll feel, if you do this, that you're engaging your back here, right? So if you're up with your elbows right above your shoulders, just enjoy letting yourself open up through the front of the body here, no matter how high you are. Try not to lift your chin up like this. Try to let yourself bring your gaze just a little forward of between your hands. Good. Now see if you can bring your hands together, clasp your hands, send your pinky finger out. So like if you were doing a karate chop with the outside edge of your hand, you're pressing down into the outside edges of your hands and your forearms. You're going to bend your knees and lift your hips up, and there you are in a half plank. Easy as that. Half forearm plank. Very much engages the belly. You can imagine you're pulling yourself, actually try to pull yourself towards the front of your mat and then feel what happens. And there's even more in the belly, in the back. Now, if you want to put your toes down and lift up to a full forearm plank, you're more than welcome to do that. You can put your feet down, you can lift your knees up, and there you are in a full forearm plank. Either one, very effective, strengthening through the core of your body. One more breath. We're going to come down. We're going to release our arms now down alongside us. Let your palms turn to face the floor. And on your next inhale, let your head and your legs float up a little bit into a little variation of locust pose. That's a back bend. It's definitely using your back here now. And then come on down. Let everything rest. Take a breath into your low back. Good. And now we're going to do that again, but this time the hands are going to join us. We're going to inhale anything you can imagine lifting up off the ground, lifting up. Reach your fingertips and toes back towards the foot of your mat. One more breath. You got to do kind of shallow breaths in this pose. Good. And then we're going to release down. And from here, we're going to shift back towards pose of a child. So big toes come together. Your knees can be as far apart as you want for child's pose. You can stay all the way forward like this onto your forearms with your bottom up in the air if that's better for your knees and your hips. Or you can shift your hips back towards your heels. That is so not for everybody, right? You have to find what releases your hips and your low back without stress in your knees. So some people like their knees not really very far apart in child's pose. Some people really like their knees to come wider. So you've got to find, again, that same thing, what feels good for you. You can stay with your arms overhead or use your hands as a pillow for your head there. Or you can bring your arms back alongside your legs with the palms turned up. If that feels even more releasing for you. That certainly puts more into the knees, so be mindful. Imagine your breath now, widening your low back. So it's like you send your breath into your low back. Good. One more breath. When we get ready to come up, use your hands to help you. We're going to come around to sitting. So you have to adjust your way around with your legs in front of you. And if you know you'd be more comfortable to sit on a blanket, you can sit up on a blanket, all right? So that you're up just a little higher with your hips. We're going to do a couple of twists, all right? So take your legs out a little bit. Just get easy in your legs. And let's all keep our left leg forward and bring our right foot over, if we can, to the outside of this left leg somewhere. If you can't go across like that, don't do it. Keep it on the inside. If you can bring it across either lower or higher, above or below your knee, do. And then see if you can hold on to your leg, even if the foot's down there, so you can lengthen up. So instead of sitting here, you're really sitting here, right? Good. And then bring your left hand onto that right knee, and just easily bring your right hand on around as you come into twist behind you. But see if you can really lightly, don't lean back into that right hand, really lightly be there. Good. And some of you might want to bring yourself more with your arm, either the crook of your elbow into that right knee there, or you might want to bring your arm all the way, your left arm across to the outside of that leg. That all depends on you and your twist, right? Where your body goes. Good. So lengthen up through the back of your throat if you can. If you can think about finding length in the back of your throat, that usually will get your chin more parallel to the floor. How far back you look behind yourself is up to you. Good. One more breath. And now use your belly to bring yourself back around into center. Sit up tall for a second there. And then we're just going to switch legs. So right leg comes out. And again, left foot comes over. Again, it can be below or above the knee. If you need to be on the inside, do. And then as you lengthen up here, take a peek at your right foot. Make sure you're not letting the foot do that. The toes are going to face upward and the knee is facing upward. And you're going to sit up as tall as you can, letting your shoulders release nice and wide across your chest. And that in itself is really good to release up into your hip, into your piriformis, just to sit like this, right? One more inhale. And then right hand is here on your knee. Left hand is going to come around. See if you can imagine that twist coming. It's like you're bringing your right ribs towards your left inner thigh. Right? And you can, again, do what you want with that right arm. It can go across to the outside if you're comfortable to do that, or you can, if your knee is up close to your chest, you can hook your elbow all around your knee there so that you can let yourself support that way if that feels good. And then just ease your way into feeling the breath. Now, remember, you want to be able to breathe. So in a twist, sometimes you feel like you're just not quite breathing the way you want. You can come out of the twist a little bit to inhale if it feels better that way. And then when you exhale, maybe you want to deepen the twist a little bit. This is an added little bit of fun. See if you can lift your pelvic floor up a little bit. One more breath. Now, again, let your belly help you come on back around into center. And again, sit up tall here for a second. Let it feel good. Good. And then go ahead and uncross, stretch your legs on out. Bring your legs on out to the side a little bit. And let your legs just be a little wide, right? see if you can come just a little bit forward. If you can't, don't worry about it. If you need to put your hands behind you and support yourself that way, do, because it's not in everybody's body to come a little bit forward. But if it feels good, you can come a little bit forward, thinking of your knees and your toes facing up towards the ceiling, coming forward from your low back. So be mindful, don't do it if it doesn't feel good. Stay sitting. Again, just let your hands come behind you if you'd rather. Be where you feel good to be. Good. And then we're going to slowly make our way up. And we're going to come on around and down onto our backs on the floor. So, get everything out of your way. And let yourself release on down onto your back. Bring your feet to the floor. Bring your arms out beside you into like a T position, but let your palms face up. And then just ease your knees from one side to the other. And it does not matter how far you go. If it feels better to widen your feet out more towards the edges of your mat to do these, you can. Some people, it feels better to have their feet closer together to do this, to release your back, right? So only you know how it feels. Only go as far as you want from one side to the other. Let your shoulders release. If you can coordinate your breath by inhaling your knees up to center and exhaling when they come to one side. Good. And then the next time that you come back to your knees up, we're going to stay there. And let your feet come a little wider than you have them in your mountain toes. They're still parallel. You can't really see your feet, so you just got to kind of trust, right? That your toes are facing the foot of the mat. You want them a little wider. And how close your heels are in towards your buttocks is kind of up to you. Kind of get comfortable, all right, for a bridge pose. And bring your arms down alongside you, really close to your body. Bend your elbows to 90 degrees. Let your palms face each other like you're a robot, okay? And now, really press into the backs of your arms. Feel how your chest rises up. And then let that go. Release and breathe. Kind of let your hands relax for a second. And then we're going to do that again. Press into the backs of the arms. Feel your chest rise up. Maybe roll your shoulders under more, which brings your spine off the floor. And you can see if you want to lift your hips up as you keep pressing down into the arms, the backs of the upper arms. Once you get up, if you want to get up higher, you can even roll your shoulders under more if you want. And if you're up there and you're like, oh my gosh, this does not feel good, come down. One thing that can make it feel better is repositioning your feet. So they're either closer to or farther from your buttocks when you lift up. Or maybe a little tiny bit wider apart. Or a little bit closer together. You know, you can change that spacing as well. And you can also move up there, feel your thighs engaging, feel a length in your low back, and then come back down. And kind of let yourself move up and down into your bridge. You don't have to go up and stay. You don't want to go up and feel any kind of tense feeling, gripping feeling. Instead, you want to feel this length of the top buttock muscles lengthening down towards your knees and an openness in the front of your hips. And more than anything in bridge, you might feel your quads, your thighs. So if your arms, get tired, you don't want to do that anymore, you can stretch your arms back along on the floor. The full pose here is bringing your hands under you and clasping your hands underneath you. Now that is not for everybody's shoulders, right? So if you try that and you're like, oh my gosh, no way, just don't do it. Good. So take your time. When you're ready to come down, be mindful as you ease your way back down to the floor. And then bring your right knee in towards your chest and then your left knee in towards your chest. Let your knees separate a little wider. And you can, if you want, just bring your hands and rest them inside your legs on your ankles or your shins. Right? Just coming into a little Baddha Konasana here. So you can, this'll release your low back to the floor and release your hips. You know, you can even wrap your hands all the way around the outside edges of your feet if your hips let you do that and that feels like even better for you. But don't force anything. Just let it feel like a release for your back, your hips. Good. And then release your knees on back towards your chest a bit. Let your legs go up in the air. And do a couple of little cross-country ski movements with your legs back and forth up there. Or you may decide you like the old-fashioned bicycle. Right? If it feels good to let yourself circle a little bit up there with the legs, you can back pedal too if you want. So just stretch your legs out. Be mindful. We're getting ready to come into our final relaxation pose. Right? Shavasana. So if your body is like just wanting to do anything, it doesn't have to be a yoga pose, right? If you feel like you need to stretch in a certain way or just release your back or your hips or anything, stretch your body out, just like when you stretch in the mornings. Be mindful because to come into Shavasana, we need to be really comfortable, right? Traditionally, Shavasana is done lying on your back with your legs lengthened out long, your arms down alongside you with your palms turned up a little bit away from your body. Well, that sounds great in theory, but it doesn't always feel great, right? So I've got lots of support here. Once I start getting the lights, I'm going to start to walk around. I have a lot of bolsters that, if you put a bolster, you know, I've got all kinds of different sizes, but sometimes a bolster underneath your knees, so that your knees, instead of your legs being straight, they have that little slight bend in them. It changes your pelvis a little bit, and it might make it more comfortable for you to lie on your back, right? The other thing is to have something under your head, so that you have a little bit of support under your head. So, I kind of know some of you here and a little bit about what some people like to have during Shavasana. So I'm going to start around and kind of give you time. Fall asleep in Shavasana. That's a really nice thing to say there. If you do, it means you're relaxed enough to really let go. Got me. So just give me, I'm still walking around. Don't give up on me. Still up and about. If you feel a little iffy, let me know. So just allow yourself to go to your breath. Just watching the wave of your breath coming in and going out. And your breath will want to change. That's fine. Just keep coming back to your breath whenever your mind wanders away. Refocusing back to the in and out of your breath. Whatever helps you do that. A word, counting your breaths is fine. And you'll find your body really will respond to your breath. As your breath quiets down, the body does. So does your brain. So if you can, just give yourself the gift of these few minutes. Give your body time to benefit from all you just did. Just by letting yourself completely and fully relax. physically feel the body moving when you breathe in and out, and let those deeper breaths bring you back into wanting to move. Fingers and toes, if you can wiggle them at first, and your hands and your feet. And you can just gradually move into your arms, your legs, letting your body do what it needs as you come back into either stretching or bending. Take your time. You're welcome to stay there on your back a little bit longer, or to roll onto either your right or your left side. If you're comfortable to roll onto your side, you can maybe be in a soft fetal position for a few breaths. Let yourself release there. Appreciate the ground a little bit longer if you can. So that when you feel ready to rise up to sitting, it feels like the next natural thing to do, to be able to come to sit up, but be comfortable in how you're sitting. Maybe you want to stretch your legs out, maybe you want to cross them, maybe you want to sit up on a blanket. If you can let your eyes close again once you get up, if you open them, so that you can start to keep your focus internal, but start to come back to your breath and enjoy feeling that length of your spine as you reach up through the top of your head, and you feel your breath coming back into your belly. And on your next exhale, bring your hands to meet there in front of your chest, in front of your own heart. And wishing each one of you a very joyful day. Namaste. Namaste. Happy Wednesday, everybody. Middle of the week. So take your time.